Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Listen in as we journey to some of Italy's most beautiful places in the company of those who know them best, the families who grow grapes and make fabulous wines. Through their stories, we will learn not just about their wines, but also about their ways of life, the local and regional foods and specialities that pair naturally with their wines, and the most beautiful places to visit. We have a wonderful journey of discovery ahead of us, and I hope you will join me.
Hi everybody! Italian Wine Podcast celebrates its 4th anniversary this year, and we all love the great content they put out every day. Chin with Italian wine people has become a big part of our day, and the team in Verona needs to feel our love. Producing the show is not easy, folks. Herding all those hosts, getting the interviews, dropping the clubhouse recordings, not to mention editing all the material. Let's give them a tangible fan hug with a contribution to all their costs. Head to ItalianWinePodcast.com and click donate to show your love.
Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. This morning we journey to one of the most popular and beautiful places in the Veneto, the eastern shores of Lago di Garda, Lake Garda, just north of Verona, and into the gently rolling moraine wine hills of Valdadige, where we meet our guest for today, Matilde Poggi, of Azienda Agricola Le Fraghe. Buongiorno, Matilde. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here with us. I know this is a very busy time of year for you. I'm imagining that gorgeous sunshine in your wine hills. You live and work in an absolutely beautiful place. Can you tell us a little bit about your story, how long your family have been making wine, and perhaps describe where you are to give our listeners a picture of how special your corner of the world is?
Thank you, Marc. Yes, so I am located in northeast of Italy. So we are between the eastern shore of Lake Garda and the River Adige Valley. So River Adige Valley is going to the north till Bolzano, so in Südtirol. So there is every day on this area, there is a lot of wind because there is changing. The temperature of the lake is warming up the air, and then is coming down, is moving up and is coming down the air from the north, which is cooler. So is a place very windy and very good to grape vines. Our soil is a moraine because there was once a glacier which made the River Adige Valley and the Lake Garda. When it went back, it left a lot of stones, and our soil is very rich in minerals. So it's a soil which is not pushing too much the vines because it is poor, but is going to make wines very elegant and luckily with not too much alcohol. So they are not pushing too much towards tannins, and also sugar level is normally not so high. So we make wines between 12 and maximum 13 degrees, which is something I really appreciate in my wines. So my family was moving. We are original of Genova, Liguria, and then we moved to this area in 1881, and we used to grape vines, vineyards, and we had also a family winery, which began in bottling and selling wines since 1960s. My father was not directly involved in the business, although he was partner of the family winery, but he had another job. And in beginning 1980s, I decided I wanted to try and challenge with winemaking. And so I started vinifying one little vineyard of my father, and then I went on, and now I am vinifying everything, all the vineyards of my father, and I already also increased the buying some other hectares in the area. So I decided to do that. I was very young in 1984 because I was 22, and wine is and vine growing is something already with me during my children's life because we had a winery. And so I remember after the school, we went in the afternoon in October, we came back from school and we went harvesting the grapes. We were living in a very big family house. We were 19 cousins all together, belonging to three families. So my father and his two brothers. So you can imagine it was really...
Wow, quite a big family.
You know, in 1960s in Italy, there was baby boom. So a lot. And so we went all together, harvesting, and then in November and during winter when needed, we helped with the labeling. And so it was something, and I was very much impressed of this seasonal cycle going on in the vineyard. So you start in winter, it seems everything is dead, but it's not. And then it's coming, the buds are going to open, and then summer, and then the harvest. And then the leaves are going down, and so it's something I was very fascinated of that, and I decided to challenge with winemaking. So, and that's why now I am more than 36. So this is my 37th harvest, and because I went out of this family winery and I started my own winery. The name is Le Frage. I was free to make wines. I didn't have anybody making wine before me as Le Frage. So I decided to make wines I really loved. And I tried to make wines because the winery is small. We have just 30 hectares. So it's a small production. I decided to make wines I really love, and to find then consumers who agree on this winemaking idea. So I want to make wines that reflect my idea of wine, and of course reflect also the area where we come from, which is something very particular.
Yes, it sounds very special. And I love that you grew up with wine in your blood, and the rhythms of the year, and being in the vineyards was just something you had to do. In the 1980s, though, early on, it must have been a very brave decision when you were so young, and as a woman as well, to set out to make your own wines.
Yes, it was not easy, but of course I was helped from my father, and who always encouraged. We are 6 children, and 4 women and 2 guys. And my father always encouraged the women to go on and not to think that they are women and they have to stay behind. So, of course, I was very young. I made a lot of mistakes, but I am happy because I know that what it is now, Le Frage, it is something coming, reflecting all my story. So,
what does Le Frage mean in English?
Yeah, Le Frage means actually strawberries in our dialect.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and in Italian is fragole, but in our dialect is Le Frage, and the name is a toponimo, so the name of the vineyard in front of the winery, which was the first vineyard I started to vinify. And we don't know exactly where the name came from because nobody has remembering of cultivating strawberries in this area. But since I am organic, so since 2006, so we are certified that is till from 2009, I stopped using herbicide and I saw that this vineyard has a lot of wild strawberries in summer. So I guess that the name comes from that, but I'm not sure, of course.
Right, yeah. Can we talk about 2 of your most important wines, the Bardolino Chiaretto and Bardolino itself, and the grapes for that, the Corvina and the Rondinella?
Yes. So, yes, the main grape varieties I have is Corvina, and then I have also some Rondinella. But the main variety I have is Corvina. And because when I started my winemaking process, I had the old vineyards, I had all the varieties mixed. But since I started replanting the vineyard, as soon as they were not producing anymore, few grapes, so I planted the varieties separate. So I could see that in this area, Corvina is ripening much better. So I was increasing much more the Corvina. Now I have about 80% Corvina and just 20% Rondinella. Just to remember that to make Chiaretto and Bardolino, you must have both varieties. Then you can have some additional varieties, but I decided to have just Corvina Rondinella. So Chiaretto is my idea of rosé is to make is made with Corvina 80, Rondinella 20. Part of it is Sagné with 6 hours skin contact, and part of it is made directly in the press and is very pale because I guess the wine is very delicate. And so I think you must give the idea and to the consumers from the color to what they should expect from the wine. So if you see a very pale pink color, I think that the expectations are for a wine very delicate and with bright acidity and no sugar left. And this is exactly what is my wine. So, and I produce in the same number of bottles Bardolino and Chiaretto. So I was increasing Chiaretto much more in the last years. So in the last 10 years, can I say? And so we make the same amount of bottles, Bardolino and Chiaretto. Bardolino is made with 13 days skin contact, and we make it, both wines are made partially in stainless steel tanks or in concrete. So we mix then the concrete and the stainless steel to make then the cuvée. And Bardolino is, when I go abroad to introduce Bardolino to people, they don't have no idea what it is. I always say that it is very similar to Beaujolais, although grape variety is different, but it's a young red wine, very delicate. You can see through the color, so it is had not too many tannins and is very enjoyable with food. You can drink it also a little bit cooler, and it can pair, white meat, fresh cheese, also fish. Fish pairing with fish is very good. And so it's a wine, I could say, for every day.
So the character of Corvina and Rondinella in Bardolino is very different from in Valpolicella on the other side of the Adige. You get this delicacy and freshness.
Yeah, because the soil is different. So our soil has a lot of stones and is very rich in minerals. So it's a soil which is not going towards tannins, is not pushing any tannins. And so the wines have low tannins, so they are very fruity, and Bardolino is very, as it is young, it is very fruity, and then it's becoming more and more spicy with some years in the bottles. And you can definitely taste this black pepper note, which is coming out after 2-3 years in the bottle. And while Valpolicella, the soil has more clay, and so the wines are more deep, have more concentration, and have more tannins than Bardolino. So, and also we should say that while in Bardolino, traditionally we make Chiaretto, and the name comes from Vinum Clarum, as when the Romans were here, so it was traditional to make this wine. In Valpolicella, they have a strong tradition to make dried up grapes wines, so wines coming from dried up grapes like Ripasso and of course Amarone.
Of course. Let's talk a little bit about food and wine. Lake Garda has a very special, mild Mediterranean climate. The olive Riviera, for example, I think people are very surprised to find olive trees growing so well as far north as Lake Garda, and even lemons growing along the lake. This reflects in the cuisine, and perhaps this special climate is also why wines such as your Chiaretto and Bardolino go so well with the local foods. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the local foods that pair best with your wines?
So for rosé, I would say so that is the king of summer wines. So people drink a lot of rosé during summer season on Lake Garda, which is also a season where we see a lot of tourists arriving here. And it is very good. We drink it like aperitivo, or just with a slice of bread with some oil, olive oil or something like that, We drink it a lot with our fresh cheese and soppressa. Soppressa is very typical salami coming from Verona, and it is very fresh, and so it's very good with rosé. And of course, it is very, very good with fish coming from Lake Garda. Fish coming from Lake Garda are very delicate white fish, and so like lavarello, which is typical of Lake Garda, or our trota, also coming from Lake Garda. And of course, I like very much to drink rosé with pizza.
Yes.
Pizza is not the typical food of Verona, but you find all over Italy. But pizza rosé and chiaretto is something very special.
Yes, I can imagine having a pizza sitting alongside the lake in summer, and a bottle of chiaretto would be a wonderful, wonderful pairing.
Yes, and in Verona also in Verona area there are some pizzeria which were considered the best pizzeria all over Italy.
Wow!
Some years ago, from a guide who was selecting the best pizzeria in Italy, so famous for pizzeria gourmet. And for Bardolino, we make a special soup in Verona. The name is pasta e fagioli. So it is made with beans and pasta, and part of the beans are melted. Can you say that?
Pureed, yes. Yeah.
So part of the beans are whole, yes, and some are not. So it is like a cream with some whole beans, and you can eat it, and we put some pasta in it, and this is very good for Bardolino pairing. And also we eat here some fresh cheeses coming from the Monte Baldo, which is the mountain right behind our winery, which is 2,000 meters high, and they grow some cows over there. They make then milk and cheese, and so it's very good with that. But I would say that Bardolino is a very easy pairing wine, so you can have it nearly with everything except for food, which is very strong, with sauces, very concentrated, so it would be too much for Bardolino. But if you eat, would say what you eat every day, it is perfect.
What about risotto? Because you have the wonderful rice coming from Isola della Scala, south of Verona. I imagine risotto is an important part of the food traditions.
Yes, it is a very high tradition. So we grow Vialone Nano in south of Verona, and also some Carnaroli, but mainly is Vialone Nano. We eat risotto very often. So right now we eat a lot risotto with pumpkin. It's very good to have Bardolino with it, absolutely. And then in spring we eat a lot risotto with spargel.
Oh, the asparagus. Yeah, okay.
And it would be more suitable to chiaretto.
And polenta as well. Would that be an important part of the local food?
Yes. Polenta is something in our tradition since ever. They say normally Veneto Polenton.
Yes.
This is when we speak to people coming from Veneto, they say you are Polenton. It means you are very low, you don't understand too much. You move slow, you don't want to make so much, and you are not so energetic. And because we say that because it is popular, so it is tradition in Veneto. Veneto was a very poor region in the past, and many people from Veneto had to move to US as migrants, and because it was a very poor region, and we were growing polenta, and we were eating a lot of polenta. So we have polenta with cheese, with goulash, we make also very good like pasticcio with polenta, some fried cheese and some tomatoes, and then you put in the oven, and it's very good.
Oh, it sounds wonderful.
And we eat polenta, yes, with a lot, and of course with cheese and with meat, yes, absolutely, and also with some ragu. You know, ragu, the one you eat with pasta, but you can also have some ragu and some polenta, which is also very good, and I make it very often at home.
Oh, wonderful. I wonder, Matilda, if you could recommend for our listeners a local restaurant or trattoria that serves absolutely faithful cucina tipica, perhaps something near to your winery or in the area?
Yes, I would recommend in our area in Cavaion, there is a very typical trattoria. The name is Trattoria Villa, which is in Cavaion on the road, which brings you from Cavaion towards Bardolino. So it's very, very nice, and it's very typical food, and they make homemade pasta. And they are three sisters. They work in the trattoria, and they make very good. And then on the other, if you look for something more creative, more, I would not say nouvelle cuisine, of course, but more creative, a little bit, always made with food coming from the area, ingredients coming from the area, I would recommend absolutely Giardino delle Speridi in Bardolino, which has an excellent wine list as well.
Now, I know you also welcome visitors to your estate for wine tastings and also have some beautiful agriturismo apartments. So I hope our listeners will perhaps pay you a visit when they're in the area, and I look forward to visiting you myself.
Yes, so we have, we make, of course, wine tasting for tourists and for visitors. And we have as well agriturismo, 2 small apartments where we can welcome visitors whenever they want, except for during harvest, because I know that during harvest it is very, very busy for us. And we are also a little bit, is not so quiet. So if people look for quiet, it would be better to come during summer or whenever there is not the harvest, because during harvest is a little bit confusion.
Of course. Well, I know it's been a very busy moment, and I really appreciate you taking your time today to be our guest. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you and discovering your very special corner of the world. So thank you so much, Matilde, for sharing all that you do with our listeners. And we wish you all the best for the 2021 Vendemmia.
Yes, so thank you very much, Mark. And I hope to welcome you and people who are listeners to our winery as soon as possible. Thank you.
I hope so too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Mark.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe right here or wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at ItalianWinePodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.